Sister Ruth is the SIU Pensions Department Director. She has a wealth of experience in the corporate world. She can tell us about that. So thank you so much, Sister Ruth Layman, for joining us and for being willing to share with us. And those of you that are younger, oh man, just listen very well. And I see my children are here, so Ruthie, tell them they must look after their mother. Go. You've got the opportunity to tell them tonight they must look after me nicely.
The note's gone.
Okay. So before we start, can we just close our eyes for a word of prayer? Lord, thank you so much for bringing us onto this platform. Father, we just realize that when we look at events in this world, that we're also happy that your coming is so soon, because how some of us will retire, we don't know. But we just want to ask you to be with us now, to apply what we're going to listen to and hear, so that we can retire well, but also serve you well in our retirement years, dear Father, and make our retirement years meaningful. Be with Sister Ruth as she's presenting for us this evening. Please bless her. We ask for your Holy Spirit to reside. And thank you, Lord, for always being so available to us, and teach us something this evening that you want us to know for eternity. This is my prayer in your love. Amen. Sister Ruth,
Amen.
Thank you so much. Over to you. Enlighten us, because I'm quite despondent about this retirement thing.
Evening, everyone, and another welcome to the session. My name is Ruth Layman, as you very well know from the advert. So I started working in the insurance industry when I was all of 20 and a half years old. I won't tell you, I'll just tell you I have less than 10 years to retirement. So that should give you a pretty good idea that the journey I've been on in the insurance industry. So I've been around those of you who are old enough will recognize the name Norwich Life. That's where I started. Then I went to Board of Executors. I was at Momentum for a little bit, and then I joined Old Mutual for 10 years. And then in 2014, I started working for the church here in Bloemfontein as the principal officer of the church's pension funds. And it has been quite a journey. As Pastor Mandla alluded, those of you who were early, this is something that I'm very passionate about. And it became very clear to me that as Christians, we don't always do sufficient preparation. And then we get to retirement, and then it is such a shock for all of us. And so we started preparing sessions for people who are 5 years to retirement, because that then was the immediate need. And now we are already doing sessions of up to 10 years before retirement, for when we can still make a difference to our retirement. And so I'm going to go over to my spreadsheet, to my PowerPoint, and I trust that we will. I want to. Okay, let me say this. If you would like to ask a question as we go along, please do that, because sometimes we forget. Maybe you want to write it down or just put it in the chat, and then we can address it when we get to the end. All right. So as you remember, any questions, please put it in the chat or scribble it on a piece of paper, and then we will handle all the questions at the end. All right. I'm just checking that you can see my screen clearly.
You can.
Wonderful. So right there, I've put it right there so that we start and not fool ourselves. Question is asked, I am financially ready to retire. And I made it a statement so that you can answer the question quietly. Yes or no? And I want to confirm this evening, friends, that knowing is absolute power. Knowledge is power. If you find out this evening that you aren't ready for retirement, and I haven't brought the calculator, let me say this, Connie, I haven't even put that horrible statistic that you put in earlier. I have not even put it in my presentation because I would like to end with hope this evening and look at it slightly from a different angle, still with the figures and the numbers, but from a different angle. And so the question is before us, do I continue working or do I retire? And so let me then put the other fact out there for you. It is a fact that only 6% of South Africans are ready to retire. Ready in the business or corporate sense means that I'm getting a pension of about 80% of what I'm earning now. I'm going to leave you to do the maths and know that there's a stiff amount that is waiting for you to reach. So 6% of South Africans are ready to retire, and readiness means that whatever you're earning now on a monthly basis times 80%, if you can have that as a monthly pension, then you are deemed to be able to be ready to retire. I have put the slide in to let you know, don't despair. You made the best decision to attend this evening, because I do believe as we talk around this topic, when we learn and grow, it will put us in a better position for us to retire. So then what does affect my retirement savings? What does affect our retirement savings? The boring fact is that how our pension is invested, the monies that are paid on a monthly basis, how it is invested, and the interest risk on there, those things affect how much our pension will grow. So that's a fact. Of course, we pay our money, my employer pays the money, and we trust that our consultants and the people in the pension office in Bloemfontein and in our employer, wherever we are employed, we trust them that they will, through the committees, make the proper decisions. But I just wanted to let you know that investment and interest risk is part of what affects the monies that I will have at the end of time. Of course, inflation and taxes is never left outside. With this constant battle to be above the inflation, to meet inflation, or to get growth that is above inflation. And so those kind of things definitely also affect our retirement savings. Something that's closer home, friends, is spending our pension monies when I change my job. Now, this is actually the cause of all our retirement challenges, because we are supposed to, when I left my first job, and I'm so guilty as well, I was laughing about it, Connie and Pastor Mandla, when I prepared, because I thought that even working in the industry didn't protect me, because I was young, so I thought I had lots of time. And when I retired, when I left my first job, of course, the one good thing I did was we paid off our first house, but the rest, we had a holiday, we did this, we put up a wall and things like that. So what reduces our pension savings is when we spend pension monies in between jobs. And let me shock you by saying that the average South African, especially now our younger folk, in the past, our parents told us we must take care of our jobs, and we started a job, and then 31 years later or 40 years later, we retire from that job. Not so our young people. And so because of that, when they leave, actually, I checked the statistics and I saw that every 5 years, young people change their jobs. Why? Because as you change your jobs, you increase in salary, there's areas for growth. And the key question is, what will you do with the retirement savings of your previous job? And most of us know, we can talk about it, but most of us know that we either buy a car, we just blow it on this, that, and the other, and before we know it, we don't even know how we spend the money. We go overseas, we do build a wall. Some of us say, let me finish my bond and we pay our bond. Whatever reason you choose, this is part of the reason why we have so little savings, because as we go from one job to another, we blow the money instead of transferring it to either the new employer or preserving it in a fund where we will still have access to it. And if you want to know more about that, you're very welcome. My number is at the end of the presentation. You're very welcome to talk to me about that. I thought I wouldn't put the great detail of that in. So when you leave your job, you are able to preserve your monies, or you can even transfer to your new employer's pension fund. That is always an option. Why else do I not have enough retirement savings? Because maybe I started working late and I'm only starting to work maybe in my 40s, which means I now only have 25 years to retirement. And it might seem a long time, but when we crunch the numbers, it might not be so long. And so all of these things affect how much savings we have at the end of the day. I put in medical costs, and I was researching this, and I found it to be a very big contributing factor to retirement savings. The cost of medical aid has become astronomical, and I don't need to tell you that medical aid is one of the reasons why so many of us spend huge amounts of money towards taking care of our health, and that means less money that we can save towards retirement. So yesterday, earlier Connie alluded to the fact that if you wanted to be ready, and I didn't want to, my presentation is primarily geared, and I was so excited to see all the young people coming onto the platform to be educated about being ready for retirement. But my thrust of my presentation this evening is looking at people who are already in the working, who are working and are now sitting at age 40, 45, and suddenly, maybe 50 even, maybe even later, and suddenly say, am I ready for retirement? Can I afford to retire? Can I? And so the first piece of advice that I want to give to young people especially, but also all of us, is how do I start knowing if I'm ready to retire? And the best advice that I got at the very young age, being exposed to corporates and insurance, was get financial advice soonest. Now, I'm going to say this because I know how afraid we are of talking to a financial advisor, because the jargon, they will talk about stuff that we don't even understand. But friends, let me just confirm for you, the sooner you know what is going on in your finance, the better you will feel about your readiness, whether you are ready or not ready. Just knowing where you are at will already give you that peace of mind. So who is this financial advisor? How do I get hold of him? What does he do? What can he do for me? And so I want to say to you, our industry has now legislated that only certain people may give you advice. And so maybe I should have put it in my notes, but let me speak it into my notes, that we should check on the qualifications of our advisor, that they are qualified with the Financial Services Conduct Association, with the FSCA, previously known as the FSP, that they have a license to trade as a financial advisor. My advice is get an independent advisor. What does it mean to get an independent advisor? It means that there are advisors who are linked to insurance houses like Mutual, like Liberty, like Alexander Forbes. We get advisors that are linked to these houses. It means that they have signed an agreement to only give advice from their local insurance house. So they aren't able, if I work for Liberty or if I work for Mutual, or if I work for Sanlam, I cannot give you advice of any other insurer because I have signed an agreement that I will only present to you any of the Liberty products, of the Mutual products, of the Sanlam products. So when I say an independent advisor, I mean somebody that is not tied to any investment house or insurer. That person will be able to go to any of the insurance companies to source advice for you. Let me also immediately then say, you should be comfortable with the person that you choose as your advisor. And I know when I say this, it's like tongue in cheek, because how do you get comfortable if you don't know them? And so some people say, the second thing I want to say to you is ask about their costs. Some financial advisors won't charge you a fee up front. They will hope to get you as a client, and then ultimately then they will charge you. Some will charge you a fee. And so I want to say to you, please ask for the costs up front. Ensure when you are looking at quotes for retirement, when you are going to look at what this will cost, what that will cost, ensure that you get at least 3 quotes. 3 quotes, what does that mean? Get a quote from Sanlam, get one from Mutual, get one from Tenex, get one from Liberty, get one from... so some of us have certain things in our mind, certain places that we have a fondness for. Look at that, but also look at least 3 or 4 others, so that you are making a very informed decision once you are ready to make that, once you are ready to discuss it with your financial advisor. I say to you, don't choose a relative or a friend. Why? Because remember, financial advisors, except that they advise, they are there to sell a product. And when it is, maybe we don't really, maybe after all the advice, we're not ready to make a decision. It's harder to say no to a relative or a friend. It's harder to say no to a relative or a friend. It's easier to be professional and say a person that you don't know. So my advice is always not to choose a relative or a friend, unless, of course, you are 100% comfortable that that will be the best advice that you can get, or that maybe you want to second check that advice with somebody else. Ask friends about their experiences in your choosing of a financial advisor. Ask friends about good experience that they've had, and somebody that they maybe trust and that they've had dealings with. They've already had 1 or 2 of his products. His service is excellent. Investments, different kinds of things. And so ask your friends if they know of somebody that is reliable. I also know that sometimes we want somebody that is affiliated to our faiths, because that gives us the assurance that they won't run away with our money, as it were. And so that also kind of gives us, that sometimes becomes a way for us to choose somebody that will be our financial advisor. I tell you to have some idea of where you want to end up. And as a couple, if you are a couple, discuss your joint plans with your spouse first. Immediately having said that, I want to say to you, do not go and see a financial advisor without having your spouse with you. Retirement affects your spouse very intimately, and so you must have your spouse with you when you go for this discussion. Yes, you will feel a little bit intimidated, because some of the financial lingo can be very overwhelming. Annuities, and by the way, friends, when people talk about annuities and you wonder what is an annuity, let me just demystify it for you. An annuity is a fancy word for a pension, a monthly amount that is paid to you. That is what an annuity is. Annuity is a monthly amount called a pension as well, that is paid to you once you have retired. That's what it is. And so it is important for me that we get this conversation going. The first conversation, maybe in the first 2 will be difficult, because I will feel uncomfortable. And it is always important to prepare well for this conversation, because the more prepared you are, the better you will be able to go through that first session. You will be amazed how much you will learn. because your advisor is also there to teach you about the financial world and how you can be ready. Your advisor can do calculations for you that will assist you in being ready for retirement. So even from a young age, make a friendship with a financial advisor so that after a few years, the person is a trusted associate with whom you will have an annual visit, sit down over a cup of coffee, tea, water, juice, and you will then discuss how far you are, how your portfolio is growing, what are the things that affect your portfolio, and where you are now in your journey. A financial advisor can even put up a traffic light for you. They can tell you that you are very much in the red, you are amber, you are orange, or you have a green light to go, and that you are ready for retirement. So make the friendship. Before retirement, so many of us are already on pension funds. Some of us who are not on pension funds are on retirement annuities. For some companies, it is very popular now for companies not to have pension funds, but rather to give their members an equal amount towards pension and make it the members' responsibility to invest for retirement themselves. And so when that happens, you would naturally turn towards a retirement annuity, that is also tax deductible, so that you can be making the investments and be ready for retirement. Now, depending, as I said earlier, where you are when you start, if you're over 40, you might want to, except for your normal increase, you might want to, in your budget, guided by your financial advisor, increase your monthly contributions over and above what is expected of you. I say this and then I know some smirk because some even say to me, but they just don't have enough money. I want to say to you, friends, that having enough money and increasing our pension contributions, both as a member of a pension fund or as a retirement annuity, it sometimes means just one less takeout per month. And that will enable you to increase your pension contributions on a monthly basis so that you are more ready for retirement. As you're increasing your contribution, you're growing your lump sum with the power of compound. I think it was Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the ninth wonder of the world. Those who earn it know about it. Those who don't will regret it when they get to retirement. So compound means that your money is growing, and onto the lump sum, interest is added, which means it's like a snowball effect. You know, as it grows, it rolls and gets bigger until you reach the age of retirement. What can you do before retirement? You can also add a percentage of your bonus annually to your retirement savings so that you are able to be ready for retirement. What else can you do? You can save. You can invest. There are tax-free accounts. There are so many vehicles that you can access to be able to, on the side, save towards retirement as part of your pension fund, as an investment plan. There are so many ways for us to supplement or to add to our retirement plan. Your financial advisor is the best person that can guide you how to supplement your pension plan. Now, I've written there a line at the end. Have the difficult conversations if needed. There are some difficult pension conversations about retirement that we must have, especially if now we have sat down with a financial advisor, and we now know that I am not going to have 80% of my monthly salary as a pension. In fact, my monthly pension might be so little that I am now in trouble with regards to making ends meet or living according to the lifestyle that I have become so wonderfully accustomed to. Conversations must be had. Sometimes those conversations, friends, needs to be had with our children. Sometimes it needs to be had with a greater family, because I do believe that when we understand the readiness for retirement, it means that, so I have not been able to prepare for retirement suitably. I now know what I will have for retirement. I now need to make the necessary adjustments, which brings me to the next screen. At retirement, friends, we must have finished most, if not all, of our capital debt. What does that mean? I have not seen a pension that can afford to pay a bond. I have not seen a pension, friends, that can afford to pay a huge bond. So if you want to do yourself a huge favor, you need to ensure that your bond is paid up before you reach retirement. Now, before you get too discouraged, sometimes it means that we need to scale down on a bigger house and move to a smaller, because our needs in retirement for accommodation is much smaller. And so we say to ourselves, maybe it's time that we downscale, sell the bigger house, and with the income, buy a smaller house, and that you are able to buy cash because it costs less, my needs are less, I need to stay on the bottom floor because I need to be comfortable, because I don't want to climb stairs as I get older, and maybe I now want to be in a complex as opposed to being in a freestanding house so that I can feel safer, my children can feel that I am safer. And as we do that, we are able to score a bit of profit from that sale, and that will go towards flattening other debts that we have. What is other capital debt? Other capital debt could be a big car payment, and what I normally share with our retirees as we prepare for retirement together, I say to them, within the last 5 years towards retirement, you should purchase a practically new vehicle, because in retirement, our needs for driving is also less. And so as you get closer to retirement, you should ideally have a fairly new car so that you are able to retire without having too much worries about how to take care of our of the assets that we will use so much in retirement. So when we, I have sadly seen it not only in my work here in Bloemfontein, but also as I've worked in the corporate, that we get to retirement and it is a sad reality that some of us do not have a home. In the church context in particular, I realize that some of our ministers, we live in the churches, manses, or the homes that belongs to the conferences, and then we don't invest in our own homes. When we do make that effort, it is sometimes a bit late, and then we aren't able to manage to have a paid up property before retirement. There's wonderful institutions like our retirement villages that we have. I know Cape Town has one, I know Durban has one, and then most of them are situated in Johannesburg and Pretoria through the Northern Conference. And we might find it important for us to know, where am I going to live in retirement if I don't have my own home? And those difficult conversations we sometimes need to have with our children, with our families as we prepare for retirement. I do believe that having the difficult conversations while we are still working, while we are still able to see if another plan can be made, maybe we need to have an extension to a home put on so that we are able to live with our children, if that should be the case. If that should be the case, the conversation is always better started if it's earlier rather than later. And friends, I believe knowledge is power, as I've said in the beginning. The sooner we know, the better we are able to prepare for this adjustment at retirement. Most of us, if not all of us, will not earn even close to where we're earning now. And so it's better that I know that now. It's better that I know that I'm going to get a pension of 5,000 Rand or 6,000 Rand, which is a huge reduction from where I'm earning now. so that I will make the necessary changes to adjust my lifestyle, so that when retirement comes, I'm able to live realistic. I'm able to finish off all debts and live debt-free in retirement, which, friends, becomes a huge challenge if we haven't taken care of our debt as we get closer to retirement. Some of us must consider a secondary job to supplement our income. And when we're talking about a secondary job, it helps to keep our minds active and also supplement our income. It could be something that's new, and I'm duplicating on some of the information that Pastor Mandla has shared with you, but it ties in with financial readiness for retirement. And so it could be something that is new. Maybe it's a hobby that you've done over many years. And as you get to retirement, you can turn a retirement a hobby into a extra income. And when I say that, I'm not talking about working 5 days a week, friends. I'm talking about a half day, talking about something 2 or 3 days a week. I'm talking about maybe doing something that is related to your job. If, for instance, you were a pastor, you could maybe become a marriage counselor because you've done training in that field. If you were a teacher, you could become a tutor. You could tutor some children. You could help at schools. There are very many ways that we can be creative about supplementing our income. And not only will this assist us and give us the dignity that we need to be able to live independent from our children, but it will also assist us to have dignity as we come to the retirement years. Something that I know I shouldn't say, but I'm saying it nonetheless, because I find that we still have friends that don't have a will. And I want to tell you that when we get to retirement, or before we even get to retirement, or even as we are in retirement, when we don't have a will, it just complicates so many things. And so I want to encourage us as we prepare for retirement. It's as important as the numbers are to prepare for retirement by having a will in place. Why should you have a will? Because when we pass away and we don't have a will, there's an estate late that happens. It delays everything for our loved ones and our spouses, and it just delays so many things, and it puts us back. COVID has made our courts go into a backlog, and being ready for any eventuality means that we have faced the thought of possible death, which happens to all of us if we do not live until Jesus comes. And so being ready gives our children that assurance that all our affairs are in order, having a file, knowing where it's put, what is in there, a copy of all our investments, our benefit statements, all the things that helps the process of death in retirement or death just before retirement, make it easier. Those are all the things that help us over retirement. Now, I always say to people that if I find when I get to retirement that my pension will be much less than I expected, we all know what SASSA is. That is the government's pension. And then I encourage people to apply for it. There's a means test that is applied. And when the means test is applied, you will see that sometimes they are able to give us 50% of the government pension. And that can supplement your income too. It is amazing that how creative we can be in retirement. It is important for us to, as part of preparing for retirement, I want to say to you, friends, we should prepare a budget. Closer to retirement, we should prepare a budget of what will be our possible income expenses that we will face in retirement. Knowing how to budget in retirement will help us to make the adjustments that we need to make so that we can be ready for retirement. Because as we have already said, some of us will be able to retire and we will be comfortable because we have maybe have had a property, we maybe have a second property that we are able to sell, and that will supplement our pension income. Some of us have 1 or 2 cars. In retirement, we might just need 1. But it is also very real and honest that some of us will not have enough. And so making the extra adjustments in retirement is how we learn to give dignity to our retirement. You see, after all, we are Christians, and as we are Christians, we won't lament or now blame or that we aren't ready. We are now going to live in our new reality by God's grace. We are going to prepare for and be ready to live within the budget that I have prepared, because I unfortunately didn't have enough. If we do have enough in terms of our readiness for retirement, then that's wonderful. And then we are able to live completely independent. It is a blessing for those of us who are working within the church environment, that working within the church environment gives us that peace of mind that our medical aid is taken care of. And that becomes a big concern, especially in retirement, because we all know that within retirement, that is the time that we need our medical aid the most. And so if I don't have a medical aid, maybe some of us, this has been a concern for many people, some of us want to make sure that we can have a hospital plan at least, so that even if I'm not able to have a medical aid, and if you haven't checked the numbers, friends, taking a medical aid closer to retirement, and I want to advise you to take the medical aid at least 5 years before retirement. The older you get, the more costly it is to take out a hospital plan or a medical aid, because most of us will have pre-existing conditions unless we are really in peak health. But most of us will have pre-existing conditions which will hike the prices of our medical aid schemes or hospital plans even more. So budget, cut down on 1 or 2 other unnecessary expenses. When I say unnecessary, when you look at the budget, I'm not going to enumerate those things for you. You will quickly see which things can be cut out so that you can include a much needed hospital plan or medical aid as you get closer to retirement. I also wanted to say, and it might sound very obvious, but when you get to retirement, you can apply for UIF within 6 months after retirement. They will pay out for the next 6 to 7 months, sometimes up to 8 months. I have found with some of our retirees, they will pay out the UIF that you never claimed, the unemployed insurance fund. If you have never claimed, for 6 to 8 months, you are able to have that to supplement your pension. So that, why am I telling you about SASSA and UIF? Because we have worked in South Africa, we have paid our taxes, so we are entitled to all of these benefits, especially if our pensions aren't exactly what we had expected. And so we must, as responsible stewards, practice all the extra allowances and benefits that we can, so that we are able to be ready for retirement. Then maybe just, I want to go over the numbers quickly. At the retirement, how does it work? At retirement, we may take 1/3 of all your benefit. When I say benefit, I'm meaning all the monies that you have accumulated in pension benefits. You may take 1/3 of that benefit in cash to the maximum of $500,000. And that will be tax-free. 1/3 you can take in cash, and the maximum is $500,000 tax-free. With the 2/3, if you're on a pension fund, you must buy a pension. If you're on a provident fund, you will have all your monies available either in cash or to buy an annuity with. It's a great temptation to have a provident fund, because then all that monies will be available. And friends, let me just confirm for you, where there's money, we have friends and we have relatives and we have children that always know how to spend the money. And before we know it, I have seen so many sad stories of a lump sum retirement benefit that is gone within about 6 months because we didn't have enough knowledge. And hence me saying from the start, make friends with a financial advisor, so that before retirement, you already know what it is that you are going to do. You may use your full benefit. So people use their 1/3 cash. Why would you take 1/3 cash at retirement? I'm often asked the question. So Why would you take 1/3 cash? Because some of us might have a small balance on our bond. That 1/3 will be able to flatten that last piece of our bond. We'll be able to pay for that car that we still have a small amount of debt on. Or the 1/3 might assist us to pay for a fairly new car so that we are able to be comfortable in retirement. Know though, that as you reduce your pension amount, there's less money to buy the monthly pension. And so that's the beauty of having befriended that financial advisor, because as you're going into retirement, you can crunch the numbers. If you take so much in cash, that's how it will affect your monthly pension. If you take all of your money, that is how it will affect your monthly pension. And so we learn and grow as we go forward into retirement. Early retirement, let me tell you, is normally 10 years before the retirement age of your company. The SAU pension retirement age is 65, but I'm very aware that most companies, because of the high unemployment rate in South Africa, we have retirement ages as early as 60, 61. So whatever your retirement age of your company is, if it's 61, then from age 51, you may be able to retire early. People ask me, is there a penalty if you retire early? No, there isn't a penalty when you retire early, because the government recognizes that sometimes people need to retire early for various reasons, because they aren't well, maybe their spouse needs their care. For different reasons, people retire early. So it is very lawful to retire within 10 years of your retirement date. And when you retire within that 10 years, there's no extra tax levied. And the only what I deem a disadvantage is that you will have less money towards retirement for that 4 years or the 5 years or the 10 years that you choose to retire early. And when you retire early, friends, I say, look at the quality of life. Sometimes it is important for us to retire early with less money and be happy with maybe a spouse that has been injured and that is at home, than to have our spouse at home. We continue working because we want to earn a 500 Rand more or 1,000 Rand more. Ultimately, it is amazing how much we can adjust so that we can be ensured of the quality of our lives, the joy of being at home, finding new ways, finding new purpose for what to do when we are retired. And so I say there, versus the quality of our lives that we shouldn't compromise on. And that concludes, friends, my presentation on being financially ready. I did not put figures there to scare you, but I've given you the principle of being ready for retirement. I've given you the basic numbers of how to be ready for retirement. And I trust the rest is up to you.